What's going on, guys? Mecha Ish here from the Spider-Man Legend Space Venom Build-A-Figure wave. I got Ultimate Spider-Man. Let's do it. Welcome back, guys, to another Marvel Legends action figure review, and I have from the Space Venom Build-A-Figure wave the Spider-Man Legend series Ultimate Spider-Man. This is so cool to be getting this figure, and I was a huge fan of the Ultimate comic books back in the day, especially Ultimate Spider-Man by Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley, and I'm so happy that this has come out and I can add this to the collection, especially with that alternate Peter Parker Mark Bagley styled head. Alright, let's take a look at your standard window box here with the Build-A-Figure Marvel's Venom on the top left. You got Legend series, and of course you have the Spider-Man logo at the top. Going up close, you see a great window view of Spider-Man and all of his alternate hands. You got the alternate Mark Bagley styled head, and then of course you have the left arm of Space Venom. And of course, Marvel Spider-Man. On one side of the box, you got some sweet looking artwork of this Ultimate Spider-Man, and then on the other, you have the Miles Morales Spider-Man. Now this is very cool, and he is going to be the review coming up next, so make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss out. Now taking a look at the back of the box, you got the Marvel Legends series logo on the top left, and you have both Miles Morales and Ultimate Peter Parker Spider-Man posing in front of that red light that looks very cool. And then you have a little bit of a bio. With amazing agility and wall crawling skills, these young web slingers take down the bad guys. It doesn't get any simpler than that. And at the bottom, you can see the entire wave building up to the Marvel's Space Venom here. Can't wait to open all of them. But let's take this Peter Parker Ultimate Spider-Man outside of this box, and let's see what he's all about. Alright, so here is Ultimate Spider-Man outside of his packaging. This is very cool. Of course, he has that teenage build to him, so he's not as overly muscular or as tall as, say, the Pizza Spidey that we've gotten in recent releases here. He comes with the alternate Peter Parker unmasked head. He also comes with a bunch of alternate interchangeable hands. So all in all, he has 2 whipping hands, 2 fisted hands, and 2 wall crawling hands, which are very cool. And of course, he comes packed in with the left arm of Space Venom, which I cannot wait to build. Alright guys, let's take a closer look at Ultimate Spider-Man. Now I think this figure is such a good representation of the way Peter Parker appeared in the Ultimate Spider-Man comic books. Again, that was a teenage version of Spider-Man, this figure that stands at 5.5 inches tall, and as you can see, he has a very slim build. The body mold that they're using for this figure is so fitting for this Peter Parker Spider-Man from the Ultimate comic books. He even has his head, which seems to be a little oversized, but that is very appropriate because, again, this is a kid. Speaking of his head, I think they did another fantastic job with the sculpted detail and paint detailing of all of the webbing. You got the big eyes, which are nicely done, and the black outline, which is painted all within the sculpt. And look how nice and white the eyes are painted within the black outline. Fantastic job. And all of the webbing on his head, on his body, all the way around his arms, and down by his legs are all painted in, very cleanly done, nice and crisp, even the separation between the red and blue of his uniform. So I am so happy that we have a clean paint job here. I don't see any sloppiness whatsoever, you know, no spillage on this figure. Everything looks as it is supposed to be, especially that big spider emblem at his back. I mean, look how crisp that is. That is awesome. And as the webbing continues on down his chest, you can see the Spider-Man logo right at the center, which is a lot thinner and smaller than the big one on his back. So this is very cool. And this figure is reminiscent of the Civil War Spider-Man, and I'm going to be taking that one out to give you guys a comparison, but all of the webbing on this figure here is painted, whereas the Civil War Spidey, all of the webbing was sculpted in. So that's a big difference there. But like the Civil War Spidey, the muscles are more realistic. Again, this is a teenage build. He is muscular, but it is smooth over, so it looks much more realistic. You can see some muscles sculpted in on the side of his ribs, but it's not too crazy. And then he also has a slimmer chest. And looking at his arms, they're also not as muscular. You can see they're very toothpick-like, but very fitting for Ultimate Spidey. But some musculature in the back, and then a great job there. You can see wrinkles by the tights, and then going all the way down to his boots, which are all nicely done, and again, cleanly applied with that red and black paint, which looks so good. So I think Hasbro has done a fantastic job with the sculpt, with the paint applications, and picking a body mold that is very fitting for Peter Parker from Ultimate Spider-Man, right? But again, Marvel Legends Spider-Man are having their articulation points unpainted, which is such a bummer. I mean, I guess it's not too bad depending on how you pose it. it. See, on this side, it's not bad at all because even though it breaks up the webbing lines, it is still red, which matches the red. On this side, you have bright red circles coming out of the blue arms, which is such a distraction there. Now, looking at his legs, we don't have that problem. You can see the articulation points there are in the same plastic mold as the thighs and his upper calf there, which is nicely done. So I wish they would have done that with the arms. It would have made this figure a lot better. Now, one of the things I love about this Ultimate Spider-Man is that it comes packed in with the alternate unmasked Mark Bagley styled head. And of course, the heads are interchangeable, so I'm going to pop this one off. You can see the ball hinge joint right there, and I'm going to plug this one right on top of it. Push it down a little bit and it snaps on nice and easy. Now, I think Hasbro did a fantastic job with the head sculpt of this unmasked teenage Peter Parker. He got his messy brown hair up top, which looks fantastic. You can see the curls in the front. He got some spikes and nice line work all the way throughout. And the brown paint is nicely separated from the flesh tone paint of his skin, which I think was perfectly chosen. You have the same brown of his eyebrows, which are all painted within the sculpt. They also did a great job with the paint apps of his eyes. You can see the white all within the sculpt, and then you have that golden brown eye color, which really shines through. But such a great job with the face sculpt here. You can see his nice white teeth. He has that smile, the sculpt of his nose. His ears are nicely done as well. I mean, take a look at that side profile. I mean, it really looks like how he did in the comic books. Now, I was a big fan of the Ultimate Spider-Man comic book in the early 2000s. I collected maybe up to issue 133, 134. And I was so saddened to hear about this Peter Parker meeting his demise in the Ultimate Universe, you know, before Miles Morales Spider-Man took over as the full-time Spidey. So I am definitely going to have a nice place on my shelf for this Spider-Man. So like I showed you guys at the beginning of the video, this Spider-Man comes with a bunch of alternate hands, which I'm such a fan of because they really give you your bang for the buck. But you see it plugs right out. It's a very tight joint, but you just plug it right back in, and now I got his wall crawling hand along with his thwipping hand. Now these are tight joints, but let's remove his right-sided thwipping hand and let's plug in his right-fisted hand so he can punch out the Green Goblin. Now for articulation, you guys saw his head is on a ball hinge joint, so he gets the full 360-degree range of motion. He can extend his head all the way up like that, and he can look all the way down. So that is great flexibility there in his neck joint. He has a rotation at the shoulders and a hinge, so he can extend his arm about that far, and of course go all the way down. You can see a bicep swivel here, double jointed elbows. We have a rotation at that tight joint there, and we also have a hinge at his wrist joint. Now what's a Spider-Man figure without an ab crunch? So we have a nice ab crunch here. He can go all the way down. Take a look at that, and he can arch his back a good amount too. We have a nice rotation at the waist. Now his hip joint here is on a ball peg, so he does not have much range of motion going backwards because of the sculpt of his butt, but he can kick up forward and he can go to the side a decent amount. We also have a thigh cut rotation there, and we have double jointed knees. Of course, we have a boot cut rotation. We do have a hinge at the ankle, so he can flex his foot all the way down like that, but going up it's kind of limited because of the sculpt of the top of his foot. You see it bangs into the ankle joint right there, so we don't get that flexion all the way up like we see with other figures, but there is a nice ankle rocker here. Now with all of this articulation plus his alternate head and alternate set of hands, we should have a lot of displayable options for this Ultimate Spider-Man. Now here I have 3 versions of recently released Spider-Man that I feel are must-have additions to your Marvel Legends collection. Of course, you have the Ultimate Spider-Man on the right, you have the movie Captain America Civil War version on the left, and you have Pizza Spidey in the middle. Now the similarities between the movie version and the Ultimate Spider-Man are that they are similar in height and in body mold, even though the movie version is a little bit taller and a little bit wider. Both represent teenage versions of Peter Parker. Even the musculature is there, but it is smoothed over, so it looks a lot more realistic and fitting of a teenage body. So you guys can check out my video review of this movie Spider-Man for a closer look at all of that fine detail, but all of the webbing in this figure is sculpted in, whereas this Ultimate Spidey, as you guys know, are all painted and cleanly applied. And then we have the middle Spider-Man here, which is the Pizza Spidey, which is the adult Peter Parker. So he's a lot taller and a lot bigger than the others. Now he is very lean, but he is also very muscular. You can see all of the muscles popping out of his tights. But all 3 I feel are great representations of different eras of Spider-Man and are must-haves in your collection. So there you have it, guys, my video review of Ultimate Spider-Man from the Space Venom Build-A-Figure wave. So excited to have this Mark Bagley styled Ultimate Spider-Man for my collection. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a thumbs up and check out my channel for other reviews I have done. And I have so many cool things coming your way, including a lot more Marvel Legends figure reviews, so make sure you all like, subscribe, comment, and share. You know what to do. Peace.